This is TWiT.
So we're in 2045, and some interesting technologies have emerged. CRISPR is kind of the backbone of this.
What is
CRISPR?
Genetic editing. So CRISPR, and sitting up here on stage, I can't remember exactly what the acronym stands for.
I can read it because it's in the book.
Oh, thank you. CRISPR is one of those acronyms where no matter how many times you read it, it does not explain anything.
It's so funny.
It obfuscates. You think, I know less now having read it. But CRISPR is essentially a tool that was discovered in 2012 to do genetic edits. And it came from an immune system of bacteria.
Yes.
And they just leveraged that. They said, hey, could we reprogram this to do useful work? And it turns out they could.
It stands for, are you ready? See if there'll be a quiz at the end of the show. See how many of you remember this. Clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeats.
A minute from now, you will not remember that. I think researchers who discovered it probably
they don't know
let me look it up again.
We had one of the chief researchers on CRISPR on the new screensavers. I bet he didn't know it.
Exactly.
But he knew what it did. And what's interesting, and this is where you really are good, is taking technology and just seeing what it might end up being. And I think that's part of
implications.
Yes.
That's really what I try to look at.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things we like about speculative fiction is you take a premise and you run with it. And you see, where does it go? Is that how you work?
Yeah, actually the way I work is I don't just take one premise. Usually I'll take several technologies and maybe put a different twist on them. So for instance, in something like Daemon, I'd take networks and I'd combine it with autonomous vehicles and cryptocurrencies, and I'd put all of these things together and say, now how would that transform society if these were used a little differently, or perhaps without the restraints of ethics, or something else?
What is it? So is it an exercise that you do? How do you do that? You write it down? What do you do?
It's a lot of doing other things and thinking.
Daydreaming?
Constantly ruminating. Yeah. And it used to be daydreaming. Now it's work. so if I look vacant, Michelle, I'm working. But
that's his excuse. I'm working here.
Excuse. But I sometimes compare it to a crock pot where it's a real slow boil. What'll happen is I'll be doing something else, even working on another book, and in my downtime I'll be consuming information, reading something, and then walking somewhere or exercising, and then things will start to click. And I usually know I'm going to start working on a book when I put my head on my pillow at night, and the first thing I think of, the thing that won't let me go, it's just nagging at me that this is somehow important. And then I'll start to combine it with other things that I think are somewhat related that can magnify that. Because if you think about how mundane technology sometimes combine to go to the next level, and I'd bring up the computer and the mobile phone combined become the smartphone, and suddenly everything takes off.
Right.
Suddenly mobile computing transforms everything. We disintermediate. We have Airbnb. We have Uber. That type of thing. Now, those two technologies coexisted for some time. It's when somebody managed to combine them that it really went to the next level.
Is that fun for you to kind of lay your head on the pillow and start daydreaming and thinking?
Yes, it's incredibly
You
fun.
like that?
It's incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
I won't say fun, because that sounds like, no, it is work, but it's a very satisfying type of work when I can perhaps imagine something and how a scenario, how things might evolve. And even if I get it somewhat right, it's very satisfying. And that's not the purpose, of course, of sci-fi, to predict. But what I try to do, and I've said it this way before, part of what I'm doing is in some ways spotting icebergs.
Yeah.
Looking ahead and seeing, hey, what might we be concerned about, or what might be interesting? Because again, with Change Agent, here's a book that some people think is scary, and that amazes me because I mean, we're talking about a world that by 2045, if CRISPR is as effective as we think, it could cure cystic fibrosis, Huntington's disease. It could be one of the most effective tools to fight cancer. It could help us create cellular agriculture, improve the environment, biofacturing, all these amazing things. And yes, there will be a dark side, just like any really useful transformative technology.
Right.